So what's Cassie been doing this entire time? She's been at the mall!
Let's go to the mall, everybody! Come on, Jessica. Come on, Tori. Let's go to the mall. You won't be sorry. Put on your jelly bracelets and your cool graffiti coat. At the mall, having fun is what it's all about.
Yes, Jake sent her to the mall to see if Rachel is there because, hey, Rachel loves the mall. Cassie thinks that Jake sent her there to keep her safe, and you know what? She's damn right. Really, do you expect a half-naked teenage girl who missed her gymnastics bus and was attacked by a dust monster to think, wow, what a tough day. Think I'll stop by Banana Republic. Yet, Jake sent Cassie on a busybody mission. However, it pays off, as Cassie runs into Chapman in a bookstore. She morphs Fly and lands on his collar, and ends up listening into a conversation between Chapman, a year-controlled police officer, and a year-controlled media guy. It turns out that they're meeting in this dramatic spy novel fashion because supporters of Visor 1 have been listening in on communications. This is a detail I really liked, as it not only reminds us of the events of number 5 The Predator, but it's a nice reminder that there's a whole Visor 3 versus Visor 1 plot going on in the background. This story is much bigger than just the Animorphs part in it. Cassie also discovers that the creature's name is Velik. It's a creature discovered by the Yeerks near Jupiter, which was genetically modified to go after morph energy and return whoever was morphing back to Visor 3. Of course, it has a bad case of not being able to make up its mind, and its level of destruction is damn near impossible to cover up, and yet it's still done a better job than anything else the Yeerks have tried thus far. Go figure. It's night by now, and Amnesia Rachel reaches the suburbs and breaks into an empty house for a nap. She has some fussy memories/dreams that restore some but not most of her memories. Meanwhile, one of the neighbors spotted Rachel breaking into the house and calls the cops. Rachel wakes up with the cops trying to break the door down, and Rachel panics and begins to morph Elephant. Meanwhile, the remaining Animorphs have regrouped outside of Cassie's barn and are leaving for home when they spot the dust monster heading towards the city. They realize it must be after Rachel, and decide that the only thing they can do against this creature is play keep away. So they steal Rachel's father's truck. Marco is about as good a driver as you'd expect, which leads to this famous line. "Do you hate trash cans?" Jake asked. "Is that your problem? Do you just hate trash cans?" Rachel as Elephant breaks through the house and starts charging down the street, followed closely by the Velik. Rachel eventually gets cornered and captured, but it turns out that the Velik has a weight limit and can't lift the biggest land animal in the world. The rest of the crew show up. Cassie ditches the car and Jake jumps into the back while morphing Tiger. This gets the Velik's attention, who starts chasing Marco and Jake. Marco takes the truck off-roading, and Jake jumps off into the forest. The Velik chases him for a while, and I gotta say, Jake dodging the Velik as a tiger was a pretty decent action scene. Meanwhile, Marco morphs Gorilla while driving, and the Velik starts after it. Meanwhile, 2 bug fighters have shown up and start flying pretty noticeably through the city. Cassie gets Rachel, and they start running away, and Cassie starts morphing Squirrel. But Marco comes flying through the street, crashing right into Elephant and Amnesia Rachel. Marco gets ejected from the truck, Rachel lands in a crumple, and Cassie lands in the street in mid-morph. The Velik picks up Marco, and Cassie considers continuing her morph to get the Velik's attention, then remembers her dream about choice or something, and gives in to fear and lets the Velik take Marco. But there is some good news. The truck hitting Rachel caused her to regain her memory. Okay, so what the hell was the point of amnesia? If you have to use it to explore a character. Have Rachel question her past actions as she begins to remember them again or something. If the whole point was to separate her from the group, there's a billion other ways to do that. We don't learn anything from Rachel's plight, so all we did in our chapters was roll our eyes and say, yeah, amnesia, right. A Hork-Bajir jumps out of one of the bug fighters into the street, but Jake makes the save and takes the alien out. So right now we have a dead alien corpse laying in the street, 2 bug fighters flying like 12 feet from the ground, half a dozen wild animals running around, another one of those freak tornadoes as the media's been calling it, a car accident, all in the vicinity of at least 4 cops and an entire neighborhood of citizens. How does nobody pick up on this? Back on the Blade ship, Axe rather cleverly morphs one of his fleas that was mentioned earlier and manages to escape his holding cell, eventually landing on Visor 3's back. Marco, still in gorilla morph, is brought into the control room for a reason, and Visor 3 gloats over his latest catch. Axe secretly communicates with Marco. Don't morph. Don't say anything. Just tell me. Do you see a computer console nearby? There'll probably be a taxon working it. I see a bunch of consoles, a bunch of taxons, and Visor 3 looking like he's ready to barbecue me. Any console will do. Do you see a small square pad that the taxons is touching? Yeah, all the taxons are pressing one hand, if that's a hand, on these little squares. Those are interfaces, Axe said. Like your human keyboard. When you touch it, you can transmit commands directly to the computer. It's similar to thought speech. However, the basic scientific principle is actually, Axe, I don't need a science lecture. Visor 3 is looking at me like I'm his beef jerky. So if you have a plan, just do it. Okay, everything will go a bit crazy in a few minutes. Just go to the console, press your hand on it, and think open hatch. Just think open hatch. What? What? Are you seriously expecting us to buy this? Are we really supposed to buy that the Yeerks have thought-controlled computers that can be accessed by anyone? That anyone can just press their hands on any panel and without any kind of security system access any function of the ship? Well, fuck, might as well tell the ship to self-destruct in 20 seconds and then open the hatch. Could the Yeerks possibly be this stupid? Could this book think we're this stupid? Well, Axe starts demorphing on Visor 3, which causes the Velic to attack the Visor, who panics and orders the sprinkler system be turned on. This small, Axe is able to see that the Velic is actually a collection of billions of microscopic life forms that work together as a whole. When water hits the creature, the little life forms stop working together and become harmless. Visor 3 only runs the water long enough to keep the Velic at bay for a minute, but it's just long enough for Marco to use the all-access computer panels to open a hatch, and he and Axe jump out and morph Bird, escaping. Stupidity aside, there's been a decent build of energy throughout the books. The action scenes got longer and the stakes got higher, and it was building up to a great climax in a stupid summer action blockbuster kind of way. Well, we just can't have that. We need to deflate the story like you deflated your girlfriend's enthusiasm after you prematurely ejaculated. And yes, I am contractually bound to put a dirty sex joke in these reviews. See, it's the next day, and Cassie feels bad about letting the Velic take Marco, so she decides she needs to stop the Velic herself. She tells the rest of the Animorphs her plan, but it's kept from the reader. Then she goes out into the ocean and... Oh, really? We're really doing this again? We're seriously bringing back the magic talking whales? And what's more, the moment Cassie acquires one of them, we figure her plan out right away. Yeah, she gets into the air, tracks the Velic, captures her, she morphs whale, the weight drags it into the ocean, it dies, the Ewoks throw a party, blah blah blah. This stuff is so unexciting and predictable, and a total anticlimax to the action stuff we had earlier, as dumb as that was. You know what? Here's how it should have happened. Have the Velic chase Marco and Axe out of the Blade Ship, and have the Animorphs continue the chase into the night. Cassie, in a rare moment of quick-wittedness and bravery, morphs Bird and gets the Velic to follow it over the ocean. She demorphs in midair, the Velic catches her, and she surprisingly uses a magic talking whale morph, revealing that she secretly acquired the whale back in number 4 of the message, and then send the Velic into the ocean. This would flow naturally from the action sequences that came beforehand. It would go much further in redeeming Cassie for letting the Velic take Marco. It wouldn't be so telegraphed and obvious. It'd be simple enough not to confuse newer readers, and it'd throw a nice bone to the loyal readers as a way of saying, hey, thanks for following the series up to this point. But no, the book just don't care. Post-book follow-up. I think I've made my points pretty clear. This book is largely just an action piece that offers very little insight to any of the characters or the overarching story. It's riddled with cliches and pointless subplots and stuff that doesn't make any sense, and any of the energy you get from the action stuff vanishes with a mishandled anticlimactic ending. I think Megamorphs was a flawed concept from the start. The longer story and the interesting Memento-style format are lost on things that just don't matter to the main story. I will give this book one credit, though. At least it doesn't use time travel as a way to not impact the main story like the other three. I give Megamorphs number 1, The Andalite's Gift, a 3 out of 10.
On the trash can, bang it.